We miss you. I want to back up for a minute and put Brandon on the spot. Someone, while he was talking, said, can he win? And so I want to just share with you, Brandon is the perfect storm because his opponents are the incumbent, which usually gets the larger percentage. But the establishment has turned their back on the incumbent. That's Sherry Brown. And they are supporting Debbie Critchfield, my opponent's cousin. And so all of the big money, IACI, bankers, everybody is supporting Debbie Critchfield. And so now we have this beautiful split of the establishment. And if all the conservatives across the state vote for Brandon Nurse, did I just say it right? Yes, thanks. He's gonna win. And so that's why he's been busting his butt, traveling the state at almost every one of these events. And he could also use your donations. Because like he said the other day, he's like, it's like my race isn't that exciting. Not as many people are donating to that race. And it's not like he needs a lot. He just needs enough to get a few more mailers out there, to do a few last minute radio ads in the big cities. And so please, if you can spare $100 to the Durst campaign, I think it will pay a huge difference for the future of our kids and education for this great state. So thank you for all your effort, Brandon. We have done this 30-something times. I can't even imagine now our normal presentation. So we have the 1-minute speech, the 2-minute speech, the 3-minute speech, the 5-minute speech, then the 10-minute speech, and the 35-minute speech. And so I'm going to try to pare this one down into, thankfully nobody's got the clock. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my background, a little bit of the role of Lieutenant Governor, why I want to be your Lieutenant Governor, and the way forward for our state. I grew up in a Christian family here in Idaho as the baby of 5. My mother was in education. She did 30 years, retired as the high school principal down in Riggins. And my father was in law enforcement, drafted in Vietnam, did 50 years, retired last year as the Idaho County Sheriff. When I was about 10, I had the opportunity to live in Israel with my family, and I witnessed terrorism firsthand. I realized we have so many freedoms here in America that we don't even realize we have. And you don't realize that you have them until you go somewhere else and you see that they don't have them. And then you're like, wow, we're losing them. And I think that's what we're seeing. A lot of the people who are moving to Idaho, they're saying, wake up everybody, because they just lost their freedom. And now they're seeing the effects of it. And they're saying, wake up, you're losing your freedom. So at the age of 10, I said, we've got to fight for this thing called freedom. So I made it a goal to go to the Air Force Academy. I had one brother who was in the Army, another brother who was in the Marines, and they said, go Air Force because the food is better. Seriously. And I don't miss too many meals, and so I took their word for it and set the goal. We moved back to Idaho Falls, then up to Riggins, so my mom got the principal's job, and then off I went to the Air Force Academy. And 4 years, I was on the track team, I was a thrower. And then you get done and they say, what do you want to do? I called my dad, what do I want to do? So off you go to pilot training, because I was pilot qualified to get done with pilot training. They say, what do you want to fly? I don't know. I called dad, what do I want to fly? He says, well, whatever's the coolest. And so when your dad's the sheriff and you have to pick the coolest plane, you fly one that is built around a Gatling gun that shoots these 30 millimeter. 50 rounds the first second, 60 rounds the second. In the mighty A-10 Warthog. And it's because it's F-16, that's a fighter, and A is attack, so it's an attack airplane. Fun stories here. Going through training, I didn't do very well. I actually almost washed out. But I got to the very end, it was graduation, and my folks, I was like, yeah, don't bother flying all the way down to Arizona. I'm just gonna go to my first assignment. And they keep track, you've got distinguished graduate, top academic, all that. And during your 9 months of training, they keep track of how far away from the target your bombs and bullets hit. And there's a range master out there, crazy guy, I don't want to be at the bottom of where all the bombs and bullets are dropping. But after 9 months training, I ended up winning Top Gun because my bombs and bullets were closest to the target than any of the guys in my class. So. I paid that to my father, who taught me how to shoot at a very young age. So First assignment overseas, the War on Terror changed. I transitioned to the MC-12, ended up flying nearly 1,000 combat hours in Afghanistan. Watched one of my track teammates from the academy who graduated from Sandpoint die in an IED explosion the day after Christmas. He just happened, his wife was deployed at the same time. They got to see each other for like first time in 4 months, and they had Christmas dinner together in Kabul, and the next day he died. She flew his body back home. And then my team was on station when SEAL Team 6 was blown out of the sky. And it's the worst fallen angel event since World War II. We lined up on the flight line and watched all of their flag-draped coffins loaded into the back of C-17 and being flown home honorably. And I thought, here we are losing our best and brightest for the Afghanis to have the rule of law, for them to have constitutional form of government, to have fair elections. And I'd call home to my folks, and they say, well, yeah, we brought in Common Core and there wasn't even a vote in the legislature. We have both state and federal agencies usurping the law, not even following the law, and who's holding them accountable? And let's not to mention the elections. They haven't been rigged for just the last year. It's been a while. It's been a problem. We're losing our freedom right here in our own backyard, and I felt called to get involved locally. So I transitioned off active duty into the Idaho Air National Guard and then into the Air Force Reserves. I'm currently a Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force Reserves. If I can go 3 more years to get my 20, if I can outlast Biden, our crazy commander-in-chief. Lord help us all, because morale right now in the military is at an all-time low. With that, I will back up and say my North Idaho Regional Director is a sensor operator. While I brag about 1,000 combat hours in Afghanistan, she provided 6,000 hours of flying in Afghanistan. Lauren, if you'll just stand up and say hi to everybody. On to work for a contractor, and literally just came home last April when they officially closed down Afghanistan. And so she looked me up on Facebook, and here we are now. She understands the fight for freedom because she put her life on the line, and I know you guys all get that too, and that's why you're here tonight. So I jumped into the legislature, and I quickly realized we are not as conservative as we're being led to believe here in Idaho. Just last year, it was right before the pandemic, the American Conservative Union, it's a national organization that ranks states and legislators and congresspeople on how they vote, and Idaho dropped down to 17th in the nation. We've come back a little bit with all this COVID craziness, but the biggest things where I started to see is in the spending. I've been in the budget committee the last 2 years. We have nearly doubled our budget as a state in the last 2 years, from $6.9 billion to $12.9 billion. 46% of that is federal money. Just this year, we've grown our budget 21%. We hired 222 new employees this year and gave them a 7% raise. In a year of inflation, that is not conservative fiscal policy. Some of the other examples are going to be the critical race theory. You know it, you see it. It is throughout our state. We had 20 plus teachers sign a pledge that they're going to teach it no matter what the law is. And then you can get into the election integrity. We're ranked 38th in the nation by the Heritage Foundation. But then we just started digging into it the last couple of months. A fellow pilot down Lewiston area, we found 20 people voted in multiple states and Idaho. We had 20 just in the Meridian City Council race. They voted 4 months after they moved out of the area. Shouldn't have even been voting. Had a whole bunch of prosecutors. We gave them the information. They wouldn't even prosecute these voters, especially in Ada County. We found 30,000 names that shouldn't even be on the voter rolls. 1,600 underage. So one of Dorothy Moon's opponents, he went and did a get out the registration event, went to high schools, got a bunch of underage kids to register and said, we'll wait to input your data until your birthday on the card. They went in and inputted them anyways, oops. And so we called him on it last month and said, hey, these are illegal registrations. So they went in and fat-fingered it and just changed the date on all of them, which is totally illegal, right? And so we called them on it. So these people, because now there's 20 of them who just asked for absentee ballots. So they registered illegally, now they're asking for absentee ballots. And then we got into dead people, right? So in the code, it said that this Department of Health and Welfare is supposed to provide a list to the Secretary of State, who's supposed to send it out to all the county clerks to remove the dead people every month. And we asked for that public record, and they said, sorry, we're not going to give it to you. So we had to create a new law. Instead of suing them to abide by the law, I created a new law to get them to give us the list. We got the list, 4 years of dead people. We found 1,000 dead people who are still on the voter rolls. 3 have asked for absentee ballots in the last couple of weeks, right? So that's just an item. Mind you, that's not as bad as other states. These are just the little things that we're finding, right? So there again, we are not as conservative as we're being led to believe. The news isn't carrying this information, and we need an executive branch who has courage and is proactive in their leadership. I'm tired of being jealous of Florida. This is Idaho. You know, if we had a courageous leader in our executive branch, DeSantis-style leadership, those teachers wouldn't be working in Idaho anymore. We would have cleaned up our elections. We wouldn't be teaching this CRT, and we would have a fiscally responsible budget, right? I mean, we took $21 billion from the federal government. They don't even have that money, right? We're paying $60 million on interest just on one of the programs each year. And then we brought that money in an Idaho code. It says this is going to be an investment for our grandchildren, so we're only going to use it to invest in future projects. And then we're using it for art projects, and we used it to give $1,000 bonuses to employees. So we're using, really, your grandchildren to pay people more right now. I mean, it's just not fiscally responsible. So, as your next lieutenant governor, I'm going to tell you, I will be an ambassador for conservative America First principles. I have a strong conservative voting record, and I will continue to do that. But I will also continue to expose corruption. We're still in a good old boy state, right? And we see it even, there are state employees who know it and see it, but they're too scared to say anything, right? And so we got to continue to expose that corruption, but also to hold our agencies accountable. And I have some ideas on that, and I think our Idaho Constitution allows for 20 executive agencies. Well, they've spawned, and the governor has written executive orders to create 220, more than, state agencies, boards, and commissions. And they only report to the governor, the executive branch. In the legislature, we try to hold them accountable through their budget, but there's only 2 conservatives on the budget committee, so we have no ability to really hold them accountable. I see a lot of opportunity there. I personally would like to use some of my military experience. I had a new wing commander come in. I was the XO. He wanted to go to every unit, do a tour, get briefed on what's working, what's not working, and how do we make things better. And I want to do that. On day 1, 0800, Department of Health and Welfare. Let's have a tour. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working. How do we make things better? And if you're not going to follow the law, then I'm going to tell all of Idaho that you're not following the law until you do follow the law. And kind of mirror what our current lieutenant governor did by exposing what's going on with critical race theory in our schools, but create like a parallel website tip line so that we can have our actual state personnel who want to share that things are broken, and they can do it privately. And I think we can, once we provide some transparency, we'll get the accountability that we deserve. I want to be a liaison for the people, not a manager of government. And I think that's where we're getting a breakdown in our executive branch. So real quick about the campaign. We are literally in the last 2.5 weeks of this fight, and I really believe this is the tipping point for Idaho. We're either going to go back to our constitutional republic, or we're going to carry forward into this totalitarian corporatocracy that we have going on right now. Because right now we have companies, international companies, that are more powerful than our legislative body, and that's a problem. And so I have one opponent in this primary, and he, I would say, is the Al Capone of the Idaho legislature. And he is backed by Big Pharma and Pfizer and endless lobby groups. In the last 11 months, we've had nearly 2,500 Idahoans donate to our campaign to let freedom fly, and not one lobby group. That's triple, almost quadruple now, the number for our opponent, and we haven't gotten any money from lobby groups. He's getting up from the entire medical industry. I mean, there was like a 6-month period, he just got $25,000. One day he got $50,000 from a whole bunch of lobby groups. But I will tell you that I'm in it to win it. We are outworking him. We've had nearly, I think we're almost up to 1 million pieces of literature, phone calls, text messages that have gone out. We have central committees across the state supporting us, from Idaho Falls to Mountain Home and Adams and Custer and through up Shoshone, and then even Coeur d'Alene Central Committee is supporting our campaign. And we are in this last kind of race. Last week polling data showed he dropped significantly. We're only behind by 7 with a margin of error of 4. So we are literally neck and neck with the kingpin. But we need your help to get across the finish line. I need, in this next week, I need about $15,000 to fully execute the plan. We're going to go live with TV commercials next week, but we need to secure that extra $15,000. So if you have the ability to donate, $20, $50, $5,000, please. I really believe this is, somebody said, do you want to be the next governor? No, I want to make sure Scott Bedke is never the governor of Idaho. And that's why. So I got flyers in the back. I wrote an autobiography. I'd love to sign a copy for you, a small contribution to the campaign. I've got a small bin full of shirts and t-shirts where if you're willing to wear it, please take one with random sizes left. So on your way out, grab one of those that's left over. And we've got some donation envelopes, and I think that's about it. So we are going to win this, and we also know that in the end, God wins. And so as long as we're on his side, we win. So God bless you all. Thank you for your support.